Again, another example, if I ever go to Aldi, the ways that people are like, oh, here, take my cart, I'm like, okay. Or when I'm like, here, take my cart, and they're like, here's a quarter, I'm like, no, you need that for next time.
Exactly. Hey friends. So for this Maundy Thursday service, we're having a conversation between Vicar Amelia and I about service. As you read in the gospel text today, Jesus, on the night before he was killed, one of his last great acts was to serve his disciple, to serve his neighbors.
Now before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put it into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with a towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered him, "You do not know what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "One who has bathed does not need to wash, except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and had returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You called me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you also should do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will glorify him in himself and will glorify him at once. Little children, I am with you only a little longer. You will look for me. And as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another, Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another.
Please join in singing A New Commandment. A new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you love one another as I have loved you. By this shall people know you are my disciples, if you have love one for another. By this shall people know you are my disciples, if you have love one for another. A new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you love one another as I have loved you.
So just real quick, Amelia, how do you understand service, to serve someone? What do you think that means?
Ooh, I feel like service is just such a big term. Like, it's not just, being served at like Boston Market.
Exactly.
It's, it's understanding each other's needs and doing our best to fulfill them. Whether it's just giving them a helping hand with a project or something, like helping Alyssa with worship, with all the techie stuff that she does.
Yeah.
Or even just talking with someone,
Right.
Right,
yeah, no, I really appreciate that, especially the part you said, understanding someone's needs, because oftentimes you may think that you're helping someone and serving them, but if you don't understand what they need, you might be hindering more, right? So what do you think? Okay, so with the pandemic in 2020 and continues into 2021, where have you seen Christians or people serving their neighbor?
I've personally experienced a lot of that at food pantries. I've really enjoyed our food pantry and other supply ministries, and just how they have kept going during this pandemic, at least while I've been around, since last July. And besides that, of course, the ways that people are still offering each other masks or hand sanitizer or whatever that they may need if they don't have it, which is awesome. I think at least at one Tim Hortons I know you can get a mask for $1. So
Help people out, eh?
representing, making sure I'm safe, especially if I forget my mask.
Yeah.
And besides that, just the little ways that kindness has continued, be it again, another example, if I ever go to Aldi, the ways that people are oh, here, take my cart, I'm like, okay. Or when I'm here, take my cart, and they're like, here's a quarter, I'm like, no, you need that for next time.
Exactly.
The ways that kindness has just continued in its average ways, even with the pandemic.
Awesome. Yeah, and I really appreciate just church members who continue to call each other, and when church members are having a surgery, or they send them cards or calling each other, and so that's definitely how I've seen it as well. How do you how do you think Christians can, in this this world, the political climate, just everything going on, how do you think Christians can continue to serve each other in new ways, or how in 2021? What do you see?
Oof. Well, while we have had vaccines being distributed, which is fabulous, I feel of course, that the virus is still going to continue for a while. We got a lot of people in our country and in our world, and so I feel it's just so important for us to continue trying to understand each other's needs, to really unravel what they may be. You know, helping people to get the medical supplies or the food or other things that they need, you know, childcare and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like the preschool we have at St. Philip,
Right.
and how that has been so helpful for families who need childcare during this time. And yeah, just considering the ways that people are still struggling and giving people that patience that they need. And while, you know, we may bicker back and forth about wearing masks and all that stuff, and I mean, we're all frustrated.
We are.
And so I feel like just having that patience and just on both sides to just come together and understand each other better.
Yeah, no, I find that to be very powerful. And for me, a lot of it is just not being afraid to ask the question, to say, hey, friend, neighbor, what do you need help with? Do you need help? How can I help you? And to be willing to listen. And I know sometimes a person might be nervous because they don't know how the person is going to respond. But just, I think part of our calling as Christians, as Jesus talked about on like this Maundy Thursday, which we celebrate Maundy Thursday, is Jesus called us to not be afraid to ask that question and to serve, you know. And so yeah, and so this has been really great.
Oh, one last thing is that just as like we talk about, you know, the things that we can do for other people, we also kind of need to understand that, hey, sometimes if we receive help or if it's offered to us, we just need to take it. Just like when Jesus was washing the disciples' feet. I mean, sometimes we got to be like, okay, Jesus,
Right.
no, do that for me.
Peter really didn't want that, right? Oh, that is a great insight. Because he was like, no, why are you? I should be washing your feet. But Jesus like, hey.
We got to be open to receiving help.
Yeah, and in some ways that might even be harder than asking to give help.
Oh yeah, we're looking at you, Bonnie.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. Thanks for chatting, and I hope that you all at home got something, out of it, and you think about service. And yeah, so if you like the video, go ahead, hit like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, join the St. Philip Noti team.
And don't forget to
keep
comment.
Updated. Yeah, comment a way that you've seen people serving each other in your own life or in 2020, and
or the ways that you've been served.
Yeah, ways that you've been served. So so have a good Maundy Thursday, and we'll see you tomorrow for Good Friday. And yeah,
God bless.
Don't let me down. Don't let me down.
Just have that in like the little credit section.